How to make a Halo Infinite neck seal. Welcome to part 10 of making a Halo Infinite cosplay. This is going to be a long episode, so sit back, get your notebooks ready, and let's get on with the video. To start with, I'm going to 3D print this file made by Instinct Creative 3D. Once that's printed and you've removed all the supports, it's time to add that filler primer. If you've been keeping up with the videos, you'll know that the best method that I've found is to do 2 layers of filler primer, sand all the surfaces with 400 grit wet and dry sandpaper, 1 more coat of filler primer, and it should be looking really smooth and crisp. To add some extra detail, I'm going to use this truck bed liner, which is going to give the surface a stippled effect. You're going to spray this on with some thin, even coats, and you might want to do 2 or 3. When it goes down, it kind of looks flat and glossy. Once it's dried, it becomes more stippled and has a matte surface finish. It's really important because silicone mirrors the exact surface it's been put onto. So if you had a super shiny surface, your mold would come out looking really shiny. Now onto the main event, making the silicone neck seal. Let's run through what you need. A 3D printed mold. The silicone I went with is Dragon Skin by Smooth-On, and I make sure to get the fast curing one. This has got a pot life of 8 minutes and a total cure time of 75 minutes, which changes depending on heat and humidity. We'll be doing a couple layers of silicone, and the last 2 are going to be using this Thivex, which is a thickening agent. To dye the silicone, I'm going to be using black Silk Pig pigment from Smooth-On. You're going to need lots of gloves because this gets messy, some cheap brushes, some paper towel to clean up, plastic cups, and digital scales. Dragon Skin comes in 2 parts, which come in a blue and a yellow bottle. Before you use them, it's important that you mix them thoroughly with mixing sticks. Make sure to label those so you don't accidentally cross-contaminate the silicone. Make sure to also mix up your pigment. Now it's time to start pouring. This is going to be a 3 to 4 layer process. On the first layer, we're going to do a really thin stipple coat. For that, we're not going to need to use much silicone. So we're going to take about 5 grams of part A and B and mix them in a cup. You mix Dragon Skin with a 1-to-1 ratio, which makes measuring out really easy. I like to add the silicone pigment in before adding part B. This pigment's really strong, so you only need a really small amount, about 1 gram. Next, it's time to add an equal amount of part B. As soon as that part B is in, you're up against the clock. So you want to grab that mixing stick and get mixing. Now I want to make sure I'm using a flat-ended stick because that's going to get all the silicone mixed from the corners of the cup. Visually, I'm making sure I can see no streaks of color. I want it to be a solid black. I mixed this small batch for about a minute, which has already taken the pot life down to 7 minutes. Once you're happy that you've mixed the silicone thoroughly, grab your brush and start stippling the silicone onto the surface of your mold. This layer is known as a stipple coat, and it's all about capturing the detail on the surface, and you want to avoid building up too much thickness. This is going to help avoid bubbles in the final product. Here I'm doing a check where I'm shining against the light to make sure I've covered all the surface. If I see any dry spots, I'm going to go over that area again with my brush. Then once I'm happy with that, I'm going to set it aside to do a partial cure. Now a partial cure is when the surface is still tacky, but it won't come off. So here you can see it's not quite ready yet. And then a couple minutes later, it's still tacky.